First, I'd like to tell you just a little bit about Belize. Belize is a small country that is located in Central America. It was formerly a part of British Honduras. Something that is very important for us to remember is that the annual per capita income is roughly 1/6 of the United States average, and the infant mortality rate is 3 times higher than the United States. Not only is this outrageous, but it is nowhere near close to anything that the United States has experienced within the recent past. Exactly where are we going to be at in Belize? We're going to be in a small area known as Toledo, and this is made up of several very small villages that we will be visiting. Something that is important for educators to remember is that a majority of the population is actually Mayan, and that this is the southernmost region of Belize. This area was at one point one of the most lush and pristine areas in Belize. Sadly today, though, it is the poorest and least developed area in the country. We also have to remember that 42% of the children have stunted growth. This is all due to malnourishment. Not only that, it's important to remember that only 38% of these children have all the necessary immunizations. This means that they're susceptible to diseases that we no longer really worry about in today's United States. When we really think about lifestyle, what do we think about? We think about electricity, we think about having basic necessities such as toilets and running water. But in Toledo, this isn't always the case. Less than 15% of the households there have access to a computer, and of those, only about 3% have access to the internet. A large portion of Toledo also relies on kerosene. Kerosene is important to remember because this is where they get their light after dark. Another thing that is important to remember is 56% of these homes cook over wood fires and 50% use pit latrines. These latrines are basically holes in the ground which they use as their toilets. Something else that's also very important to remember is that malaria is still widespread in this country, and this is home to a large number of political refugees. I really wanted to give you an example of what one of the homes might look like in Toledo. Here you see a straw roof over what would be a wood base. To give you an example of what the education looks like in Toledo, I wanted to show you that the adult literacy rate is lower than 69%. This means that a lot of these students that we will be working with can't go home to a family that can help them with their homework. Coming into school, only about 48% of the residents over the age of 3 speak English. This is because a large majority of the population speaks either Kikichi Mayan or Mopan Mayan, and then they enter these schools with a lack of bilingual education. This means that so many of these Mayan children are behind from the first day that they enter kindergarten. Nearly 50% of the students in general will not make it past the primary school, which is 8th grade. After that, so many drop out. But what really is our true objective for this study abroad program? Schreiner University says this: this study abroad field-based course to Belize is designed for teacher candidates to refine their skills in classroom reading diagnosis and remediation of reading difficulties with English as a second language and English language learner students. Schreiner students will travel with the students from the University of Texas at Tyler to various schools, historical sites, and cities in Belize. That being said, the University of Tyler is actually the primary school that we'll be working with. The University of Texas at Tyler educator preparation programs are committed to developing 21st century educators who are prepared to meet the challenges of diverse populations. As part of this commitment, the Department of Educational Leadership and Policy Studies, along with the School of Education, is offering a week-long experience for educators in Belize. This trip will allow practicing and future educators to experience a cultural and educational system different from their own. In the process, participants can expect to increase one's knowledge of the appreciation for multiculturalism. Belize, formerly known as British Honduras, is a young country whose official language is English, but children come to school speaking Creole, Garifuna, Mayan, and Spanish. In addition, most families are subsistence farmers who live off less than $1,000 a year. Resources are scarce, and many schools do not have electricity. However, this is a historically rich area that offers a wonderful opportunity to learn about other cultures and the educational challenges. We will also be visiting local Mayan sacred sites and exploring the country's beauty. At this point, I also want to remind everybody that this program is in unison with the University of Texas at Tyler. However, we will be staying an extra week. This is so that Shriner can indulge in further cultural activities. The purpose of this trip is to gain knowledge and experience in teaching students who are English language learners or speak English as a secondary language. We live in a society where we see higher numbers of immigrants coming into not only our country, but also the great state of Texas. A majority of the students we will be seeing are going to be speaking Spanish as a first language. However, in the graph provided, you see that we will also see students who are also Vietnamese, Chinese, Tagalog, and so many others. We also want to remember that during this trip, we will be seeing a lot of Mayan language speakers, but we will also see a lot of Spanish speakers whose families have immigrated into Belize. For me personally, I worry every day about teaching students who are English language learners and English as a secondary language learners. While I do plan to get ESL certified, I do worry because I've never had much experience in any sort of other language except for English. Something that's important to remember is that the state of Texas is home to nearly 24 million people, and a survey shows that only 65% of them speak English at home. The rest speak more than 160 languages combined. So this trip is a great learning experience for me. I want to learn the strategies that other teachers use, and I want to use them in my own classroom once I get back to the state of Texas. It is so important that we remember that learning experiences happen every day in the real world, and those learning experiences can go on to help further everybody else. Lastly, I want to let everybody know that this is a fundraising effort, not only for costs to get there, get back, and do what we need to do, but there's also going to be the extra funding that goes towards school supplies for these students. These are going to be things like pencils, paper, chalk, and possibly even posters that could help these students in their learning. I want to thank everybody for every second they've spent just listening to this, but also for every donation that is given. Thank y'all so much.